Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Racing Bros NASCAR Podcast, episode 37. I'm here with my co-host, Brian. Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad. Just as not bad as that race was. I mean,
True.
It was a Kansas race. It had some playoff drama, of course, always with Kansas. I don't know why. Kansas is such like a boring, like mid-tier. Well, I should rephrase that. Kansas is a pretty good track, but it's just like oh, it's Kansas. It's not like sexy or exciting or anything. But like every year in the playoffs, like it's playoff drama, and I don't get why. It's literally Kansas, and then everyone's like, oh, and they forget how to drive Kansas, and then hit the wall or like crash or blow motors. I don't understand why, but yeah, so that was the race. It's the last intermediate track for the Gen 6 cars. So we're going to start off with that. So the Gen 6 cars have been kind of like a controversial fucking car. I mean, there's been a lot of different iterations of it. Different packages, seemingly almost every year with this car. It is a very strange car, and it's weird to see, like, oh, this car's going to leave, and then we're going to get a totally new car. I mean, I get that, but it's just, like, so weird, because with this car, like, when it started out, like, my fandom in NASCAR was kind of, like, dwindling down, because I really didn't have any, like, friends to talk to about it. I was kind of, like, not really interested, because I was starting high school, so I was just kind of I wasn't really a super NASCAR guy like how I was before when I was younger. COT and stuff came along, so I was just kind of done. I mean, I would watch races here and there, like the big ones like Daytona, Talladega, and stuff. But I wasn't watching every week. I just see pretty much how Dale Jr. went. Like looked at the results and like, oh, he finished 8th, cool. And then go on with my day. I wouldn't really watch any of the other races. I mean, I seen all the highlights and crap like that, the restarts and all that shit. But it was kind of weird, like, the car that when it started, it kind of like my fandom was dwindling down, but then, or like already dwindled down, but then it also reinvigorated my fandom. Like, I was watching the 500 in 2014, and Dale Jr. won, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch this. And then I started watching it. And, that season I hold in high regards. Some people might think it's, like, overrated or be like, blah, blah, blah. It was hot ass. But it was, like, the last season we had the unrestricted engines. It was just, like, those cars were screaming down the, screaming and qualifying. It was, like, a missed era. And it just, like, I guess I didn't know what I would be missing. Especially, I mean, a lot of those races, there was, like, 5-second fucking gaps and shit, but Dale Jr. was doing good that season, so I'm just like, oh, okay, me watch. And then I just look back at that season because I was like younger, and I was like, well, it would be like better if they could make the cars get closer together. Like, I was one of those like fans that were like, oh, let's put the cars closer together, because I mean, I was a young kid, I don't know what the fuck engineering or air was dealing with. I'm like, oh, let car be closer so the racing be better. But yeah, I guess I got what I asked for, but I kind of want back to the old days with the unrestricted engines. I mean, I just miss it. It's very nostalgic. So the season, like the Gen 6 cars had nostalgia moments. Everyone's gonna fucking put 2014 fucking restarts to be like, miss this kind of racing. I can't wait till like 5 years from now, like if Gen 7 is hot ass, like I just see on Twitter just people's like, I missed the 2021 package, and then sad face, and then I'm gonna see if I can restart from like, I don't know, New Hampshire or something. People are like, I missed this kind of racing, man, when the cars were close and then you could do something with the, or like I'll see like a restart from like 2020 Las Vegas, and they'll be like, look at this, don't you miss the 5 wide restarts, guys? Like, really, like, don't you guys miss this? Like, this kind of racing? Like, what we have now is hot ass. You can't even go 3 wide, because then if you do, you crash. So, I miss the 5 wide when these people were full throttle. That's what I miss. So, I can't wait for that. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It's just, like, weird to see this car go away. This is the last intermediate track. We got 2 more races with this car. So, another generation car gone. And yeah, I guess we'll go into Kansas now after my fucking rant about the Gen 6 car. But, Brian, you want to start us off with some Kansas, or do you want some insight on the Gen 6? Will you miss the Gen 6? Will you not really care? Will you be like, oh, can't wait for those Twitter clips in 2026 for those
It'll
fucking
be
restarts?
It all depends on the next car, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the next car is bad, then I'm gonna be like, oh man, I really missed this racing, like you were saying. But yeah, I mean, it's all gonna come down to what we see next year and the following years after that.
Hey, since I got older, I now realize what actual good racing is, not close racing.
Yeah.
As I gotten older, I'm just like, I sound like a boomer. I'm like only 21, so I'm just like, as I matured in my life, I'm like some cheese. Like, I'm some special kind of cheese. What cheese takes like 7 years to mature? Like, whatever cheese does that, I'm that kind of cheese.
You're the Cheez-Its cheese.
Is that even real cheese? Like,
I don't think so. But
that is not real cheese.
It was just a joke from the commercials.
Oh my god. Could you imagine making like cheese, like Cheez-Its? Like, they all made it by like a block of cheese and they cut it in squares, and then they like actually baked them, and they're like, this isn't really a Cheez-It, and they're like $600 a box or something because it takes so long to fucking make.
That would be crazy.
Or could you imagine someone with like a baking sheet just having like little cheese, and they're like, we're making the Cheez-Its, everyone gets 12 per box. Or no,
Dude.
You know how so Britain has this one cereal. It's like, what is it, shredded wheat or something, where it's just like this one big thing of like shredded wheat. Like you pour it out the bowl and there's just this one big shredded wheat thing. What if that was the Cheez-Its box? Like, it was just one big Cheez-It. Like you fucking open the box and you're like, oh, can't wait for this. And it's like a 5-pound thing of fucking Cheez-It.
Oh my!
Like, that's your Cheez-It. They took off the ets. They're just like Cheez-It. They're like, here you go. It's actually bigger than the box. It's like bulging out of the box.
Oh my! That would be interesting.
I like how, Brian, we're like, hey, we're going to have a short podcast. We're going to have a 12-minute podcast. And we talked about 9 minutes. And we talked about fucking Cheez-Its. And then my nostalgia fucking factor about this, like, borderline fucking unraceable car. But,
yeah.
Hey, man. You know, we got to fill a quota. You know, if we don't fill our quota.
Yeah, there you go.
If we don't fill our, like, invisible quota that we have, you know, we're not doing a good job, because we got like
our quota for ourselves.
We got like 3 bullet points, because honestly, I mean, there is not a lot happening with this race.
Yeah.
So, Brian, if you want to start us off with this wondrous Kansas recap, go ahead, man.
Will do. So, stage 1, Kansas. There was rain.
And Kyle Larson wins. Okay, stage 2, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all there was. There was some weird playoff drivers hitting walls, damaging their car, getting flat tires. Stage 2, Kyle Busch just suffered from his rear left panel. Logano had a very early pit release, so later on he ended up getting penalized for it, but his lug nuts on his tire were eventually too loose, and there's a penalty that came along with that, along with a couple other cars as well. and then William Byron wins stage 2. Final stage.
Pretty much. I mean, it
Nothing
like,
really happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was seeming like we're just going through it, and we're like doing a Texas size recap. But
yeah, I mean, the first stage was literally filled with a bunch of people hitting the wall and making their tires flat,
and
that was it.
And nothing against this race. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you thought we were like not biased against Texas, I mean, Texas is hot ass. We're just gonna say that straight up. Like, we do not like Texas. I know we got to be unbiased and professional because we're, the NASCAR podcast. We're not just, not talking about Texas, but Texas hot garbage. Like, I feel bad for the Texas fans because it was like a decent race, but now it's hot garbage. And every time we go see that race on the schedule, I like cringe. I'm like, I don't want to watch this. So I didn't watch Texas. That was like legitimately just a highlight watch race. Like, I just watched the extended highlights on NBC, and that was the race recap I gave. So yeah, but Kansas, like, it wasn't like a lot of like things going on. I mean, there was some passing, there was some cool restarts and shit, but like, I mean, it was a fine race. Like, it wasn't terrible. Like, it's watchable. You just put it in the background, but like, oh, I'm still going. Do. Oh, look, still stage 2. Oh, they're going to pit soon. Oh, they're going to pit halfway like everyone does. Except for Joey Logano. He stayed out later. So, little pit stretch. But yeah, I mean, it was a fine race. Like, it wasn't anything like groundbreaking. I'm not going to remember it for the rest of my life about how 2021 playoff Kansas was like this barn burner. But not a lot happened. Like, stage 3. Tyler Reddick put a sweet move to go 3 wide for the lead. Anthony Alfredo, weekly caution. Ryan Newman, weekly caution. Then Austin Dillon lost talent and got into he just got loose, and they got into Blaney. Blaney goes into the wall, ends his day. And then Kyle Larson wins. So that was Kansas. That's all you really need to know. Like, just straight to the point. Now, Martinsville next week, I hope, is going to be like 3 pages full of notes. But yeah, Kyle Larson won his 9th race this season. He overtook Jeff Gordon's lap-led record. He had it since 2001 for like the modern era, so 36 races. Kyle Larson has overtaken that. And yeah, I guess now we're gonna rate the race. Yeah, it's just, I'm sorry, there wasn't like a lot to go off of. I mean, there's a little bit of drama, not really much.
Yeah, and I mean, the only things you can really add is, okay, early on, Kyle Larson almost lost the rear end of his car. He hit the wall a little bit, had barely any damage, ended up finishing the race in first. Mm-hmm. And then Chase Elliott hit the wall 20 times, and he was still fine and finished the race. So
yeah, and then
again, it was a good race. It definitely was, but it wasn't like Bristol.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then Kyle Busch finished like 28th or something. I think he hit the wall as well. I think I forgot to put that on my sheet.
Yeah, so stage 1 he ended up hitting the wall. He got damage, had a flat tire, just pretty much ruined his day at that point. Mm-hmm. And then the stage 2, I think they were trying to cut off his rear panel, and they ended up stopping, and it created like a parachute for him. So he was in the back the entire day.
Right.
It just wasn't a good day for him at all.
Yeah, so yeah, and that was really Kansas. I mean, it's the last intermediate that we're gonna have of this car, so
yeah.
It's now we're gonna move on to short track racing, but we gotta first give it a rating. So, Brian, what do you rate Kansas?
After all of the race, looking back on it, I'm gonna give it a nice 65, even with, some playoff stuff happened. It wasn't crazy like, Larson and Elliott are racing side by side, and one of them's gonna win, one of them's not gonna win. It it wasn't incredible, but I mean, I can't say it was a bad race either. So 65, I feel like is pretty fair.
Yeah. So with this, like, I don't know, with the Gen 6 kind of being like a weird car, like with how it races and stuff, I'm going to give it a weird score. I'm going to give it a 63. I thought it was a fine race. Something you could look, like you could watch and not want to die.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a fine race. There's nothing more about saying. It wasn't super exciting, not memorable, but it was just Kansas. And, yeah, I gave it a 63. So,
Yeah.
that was Kansas. That was it. Yeah, now we're going to go on to our questions. So, question 1. Can anyone stop Kyle Larson in Phoenix? Yes, because this is just a one race playoff for the championship. We know Kyle Larson's had the best season. Denny Hamlin's been kind of with like Larson there. I would like to see a full season format again with it, but Kyle Larson, it's a one race championship. He could get a flat tire and just like back it into the wall while leading and then lose the championship. So, like everyone could stop Kyle Larson. Elements, tires. He could like not fill his gas tank all the way and then lose the race on that. So, anything can happen to Kyle Larson in Phoenix. So, yeah, I think anything can stop Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. It all comes down to one race.
Mm-hmm.
One race decides it all, which means, Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin are basically in this week. It'd be very hard for them to not be in. So something tells me that those two and then Larson are probably all going to work toward the car for Phoenix. And they're just going to be like, hey, well, what can we do to, get the edge out?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the top four, how they race that day. And he could be stopped. He could not be stopped,
Right.
But if it comes down to, like, you're asking which driver could stop him, now that's a little bit of a harder question. It's just, we got to look forward to who's doing the best that day.
Could be anyone.
It really could be.
And then question 2 about Kyle Larson again. Is this the greatest season by a driver we ever seen? Hard to say. I would say personally in my lifetime, probably one of the top. I can't, like me watching physically. Gordon and Jimmy Johnson in 2007. I would say it probably tops it. I think Gordon had like 10 wins and Jimmy Johnson had, I can't remember how many wins Jimmy Johnson had that 2007 season, but I just remember it was a really good season. I would probably put that maybe a little bit above Larson's season. Still good season. Like, no denying that.
Yeah. Again, really good season, like you said. As for the greatest season, since I'm not somebody who's lived 100 years, I can't tell you if it's the greatest season ever by by any driver. But I can look at facts and say that it's close, maybe in the top like 15 to 10 realm. He's had an outstanding season. There's no doubting that. But I guess what it mainly comes down to is, can he finish it? Can he get the championship? And that'll even move his standing up even more.
Right. Because
if you don't get that championship and you've just had this stellar season, then what was the point in even doing it in the first place?
Like Larson or Kevin Harvick last year.
Yeah,
he had 9 wins.
Exactly.
Now we're going to talk about some news. I know we're just hitting points quick and just like not really going over stuff, but it's not a lot of stuff to go over. It's just like,
right.
We could go over the cut line. We could probably bring that up.
Yeah.
Because the cut line is interesting with how like everything is shaking out. Wait. Oh, we got some news. Some breaking news.
Oh boy.
NASCAR Race Hub. Kevin Harvick announces gear wrench will be a primary for 5 races for him on the SHR number 4 car in each of the next couple years. Gear wrench was at Ganassi and stays in the sport by moving the SHR. So the Kurt Busch car, like the gear wrench car that he won in Atlanta, they were like together for the last couple years. Now it's going to move over to Kevin Harvick and the number 4 car for the next couple of years. So another sponsor for Kevin Harvick. There's some news.
Yeah, right.
And then, we could go over Cup playoff grids. So we know Kyle Larson's in. Chase Elliott is plus 34. Hamlin's plus 32. So they're kind of like safe, I would say, pretty much safe. And then it gets interesting, really, on the cut line. So Kyle Busch is plus 1. Blaney is minus 1. Truex is minus 3. Keselowski minus 6. And Logano pretty much must win with minus 26. So it's going to be a wild race with 4 of those drivers all within 6 points of each other at Martinsville. There's going to be, a lot of contact to try to get those points, especially at the end if it's close. I mean, we've seen it with Harvick, Kyle Busch last year with that. So that's going to be interesting to see. That's another element to Martinsville. I mean, if it even makes you want to watch Martinsville more, I mean, this is some spicy stuff right here.
Yeah, playoffs looking kind of good going into the championship 4.
You can have your opinion either way on the playoffs. It does, even though I prefer a long season format, like with the counting points and all. It does, with this elimination, make it more drama. So I hate that it's still one race for the championship, but that could be another complaint another day. Now we're going to talk about some news. NASCAR has hinted that it's going to strip more poor performing tracks of their races in the coming years and preparing to invest heavily in the new ideas like a street race. I like this idea where they're like, hey, if you're not getting attendance, we're not going to have, like, we're going to go to different racetracks, try to make the sport more like worldwide, global, reach more markets. I do like that idea. I don't think we should have like 7 street races personally, like in the next 10 years. I think maybe 1 or even 2 starting out, like kind of like how the road course was for a while. Like having 1 or 2 maybe, like, would be interesting to see how it races, especially with this car, because we know the car is better with the road courses and the short tracks. I want to see how the car performs on the road course before we start, like, we had 12 street races, and then, like, 10 years from now, we're just like, oh, there's too many street races. We're all complaining about that. Street races can be fun. I think it's a novel idea to, like, go to one, because, I mean, it branches out the sport. We can go to more markets. We also go to different type of tracks, like we got the super speedways, the short tracks, the intermediates, the dirt track, the road courses, and then the street race. There's different elements for the best stock car drivers in the world to do. So yeah, I kind of like that idea with let's say, I mean, we're gonna rag on Texas again. Like Texas, like no one goes to it. They lose their race, and another market gets a race. I kind of like that. I hope it's not like any historical tracks, because that would be pretty sad. If one year like no one goes to Darlington, and then Darlington's just like, oh, we lost, a race. I don't know how quickly the turnaround. Like, how many like years in a row do they have to like poor perform? Like, if let's say there's an NFL game or something, and like they're like, oh, let's go to that instead. of the race, and then they have that 1 year of bad attendance, or NASCAR is just like, oh, time to switch it up 1 year later, boop, boop, boop. I don't think they would do that, but, I've been wrong on what NASCAR would do, so
right.
We'll see on that kind of idea.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. So now let's go to Martinsville. The big, we're going back to the paperclip. We are going back to Martinsville. So the village of Martin Truex Jr. The track was named after him. What a legend. I'm kidding. But Martinsville, the paperclip, beating and banging. Couple points for the playoffs. You're in or you're out. It's going to be wild. It's going to be chaotic. I think it's going to be a little bit like last year. There's probably going to be some desperate moves in the last 5 laps. Someone will probably get wrecked out to get some points. And yeah, it's going to be wild, I say. It's Martinsville, one of the best tracks on the schedule. Short track. Gotta love it. Who do I think will make it? So, obviously, Larson's going to make it. I think Elliott and Hamlin hold on. So, it's going to be a dogfight for the last spot. And I think Keselowski is going to make it on the last spot. And I'm claiming him to win. I think Keselowski comes out and wins Martinsville. I mean, I know he hasn't had the greatest season by Keselowski standards, but I think this is just one last hurrah with Penske. I think he's going to get him in the championship 4. I'm saying Brad Keselowski is going to win and lock himself into the playoffs. Or the championship 4.
Oh, that's very hot take. I mean, I kind of feel like Brad's still trucking along, but at the same time, he's almost just given up and he wants to go to next year already.
Brad,
but I'm sure. Hey.
Brad Keselowski won this race.
Yeah. See, what's funny is when you brought up the whole who's going to be in, I was going to say, okay, so yeah, Larson's already locked in. I was going to say the same as you. Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin are, I'd say, fairly in. It would take a lot for them not to be in. And then I was going to say Brad Keselowski is not going to win this race. But I will allow you to have your pick, and I'm not going to say that. Just for you.
I mean, right? You already did.
See, I said I was going to say it, though. I'm not going to put it in stone, though. All right?
Watch that 2-car. Just, knock your pick out of the way, and your pick runs 16th, and then watch that 2-car win,
Hey, if he does, good on you for the pick, and good on him for winning.
I am definitely rubbing it in your face. It's going to be even more than my offhand comment for fucking Michael McDowell.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. And at that, I hope that my pick, Martin Truex Jr., does not win, and he's in the back of the field.
Yeah, there you go.
I hope for you that he's in the back of the field.
Yeah, I mean, he will. I mean, he's going to get a speeding penalty because, Speeder Martin, what they call him, is what I called him just now.
Yeah, there you go. No, but I don't know. I was really thinking about it, and I think I picked Truex a week too early. I think he would probably have a better finish at Martinsville than he would that he had last week. And then I just kind of looked at who's all in the playoffs, and I was kind of like, well, I feel like it's going to be 2 Chevys versus 2 Toyotas. It's just, I don't know. I felt like that for some reason. But, I could be completely wrong. Anything can happen. It's one final race. It all comes down to this. Short track racing, who has the best car, who has the strategy to get through this race and win.
Right. And yeah, that's been a podcast. I know it's really short this week, but it's not a lot to talk about. Hopefully next podcast, a lot to talk about with Martinsville. We made it a half hour because we made our quota, so we're good. Thank you to Instacart for partnering with us again, as they have the last couple months. Couldn't have done it without them. Their whole $12 they gave us really pushed us through that money. But no, they've been amazing help. If you guys don't know, we are partnered with Instacart. We do say it every podcast, but some people might not know. Instacart makes your life easy. Just get the app. The app is like literally, it's a giant carrot, so you know that they're gonna get you good food if you got a nice carrot as your icon. If I ever see a good carrot out in the world, I'm like, I trust that person. They give them the horses. You can put carrots in like soup or some stew. Right. Carrots a very versatile vegetable, and Instacart's a very versatile app. So make your life easy with Instacart. Download Instacart using our vanity link. You get free deliveries on your first order. Deliveries will be processed within an hour or two. So you can continue sim race or do a podcast or even just, have fun, man. You don't have to stop and go to a grocery store. Who wants to do that? It's 2021. Who goes grocery stores anymore? Mom and dad? Ugh. Boomers. That's what the boomers do. But, you don't want to be a boomer. Get Instacart today. Add our link below in the description. Make sure you click it. Brian, thank you for joining me for another podcast. As we are wrapping up the season, 2 more races to go, man. After we made it the whole way.
Yeah.
We actually did it.
We did.
How? Why?
With the help of our listeners.
Yeah, and going to that, we got to thank them again for making this month already our highest downloaded month.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, thank you guys for the last couple months with this playoff run. We have been gaining a lot of listens. So, we could not thank you guys enough. I cannot wait for next season already. After the Phoenix review, recap, which is in a couple weeks, I'm already going to tell you guys now that me and Brian is probably going to take 2 weeks off because this has been a long season. So, off-season stuff still to come. We will still check in from time to time. Cut the shit maybe. It's going to be a lot laid back, more podcast. Yeah. We have a couple ideas that we're going to, continue to talk about and see what we bring you guys. Again, we just couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Follow us on our social media platforms at Racing Bros Pod. Just look us up on Instagram and Twitter. We'll pop up. Then you can follow our other accounts, our personal ones, in the bios to that. We also do stream. Brian's stream is like Cav's Biggest Fan 1, but you have to spell biggest wrong. It's only 1G. He made it when he was like 10 years old, and he couldn't spell biggest. So shout out to Brian for not being able to spell as a 10-year-old. Then I stream as well. I stream during the week, so if you guys want to come along and join and just, cut the shit, say that you rock as a podcast, I would appreciate that. Or just say you're garbage. I will take either or. My stream is Zach Workman 9. Just want to check out, hang out, say what you doing, man. Come along. And in the off season as well. Guys are missing your weekly podcasts from us. You come to there, talk to us, cut some shit. We got you. So pushing out another couple minutes. Getting those extra 12 cents that we're gonna get. But again, thank you guys for listening. It's episode 37. This has been the Kansas review and the Martinsville preview. So we'll see you guys next week.
Take care.